Here with me today is the GoPro 10 all the way up to GoPro Hero 13. GoPro releases a new flagship camera in September every year, so we're going to see how 4 generations of GoPros change. Now before I get to the video, I'm just going to let you know that this is not going to be a super scientific comparison, but we're going to have the 10, 11, 12, and 13 here. The 13's from mid-September this year. I also got braces, and yeah, with that being said, let's get right to the video. And now we are comparing the FOV, field of view. How wide is the field of view? Normally we measure this in millimeters, or once you get wide enough, it's how many degrees. So basically FOV stands for field of view. How wide is the field of view? You kind of want a wider field of view so you can see your handlebars. If your camera's mounted here and wider field of view, you'll get to see more of the frame. So if you don't before with like wide, you upgrade to super view, you'll be able to see your handlebars on your bike or other things to fit more scenery into the frame. So basically the past 10, 8, 9, 7 years, basically GoPros have had super view, and the GoPro 10 is the last camera to cap out at super view, which is a 16mm field of view, with hyper view, which is one step above that with the GoPro Hero 11 and up. As introduced in the 11, that's kind of why it has a smaller, slightly bigger sensor. And so basically you get this 12mm field of view, so like a 20% larger field of view, so people can fit more scenery into their frame. And yeah, hyperview is only available with the GoPro 11, 12, and 13. That's why you could tell with the 10, it maxes out only at super view. So I guess that is a pretty nice advantage with the 11, 12, and 13. That's actually one of the highlighting features that the 12 or the 11 introduced, hyperview. But now we're going to be comparing slow motion with the GoPro 10, 11, 12, and 13. So FPS stands for frames per second, and basically most cameras, smartphones, and action cameras support down to 1080p at 240, maybe 2.7K, 240, like most GoPros now. So basically the one that is the most delayed, it has a higher frame rate, as you see here. So the 10 supports 2.7K at 240, the 11 supports 2.7K at 240, and the GoPro 12 supports 2.7K at 240. But the GoPro Hero 13 supports also that, but you can do burst slow motion, which is now 720p, so a lot lower resolution that just got reintroduced for 400 frames per second. That's 13 times compared to 8 times, which is crazy. You could also, well, that's only limited to 15 seconds, but if you also want another 15 seconds, you could also switch to 900p at 360 FPS, or, I mean, you could double the frame rate at its highest resolution for 5 seconds at its last burst slow motion feature or setting, which is 5.3K 120 instead of 60, so 4 times slower with that, but that's 5 seconds. The rest are 15, so you don't get much time with that. Just keep in mind, when you use burst slow motion, you do not get a wide field of view at all. It's like either linear, narrow, or maybe you might get wide at 5.3K 120 burst. We're gonna be comparing color and HDR. So basically, color meaning like the bit rate, the bit color, not bit rate, but like 8 or 10 bit color. And then we're gonna be comparing HDR, high dynamic range, which basically is, it's basically how it can handle like overexposed situations. So basically the GoPro Hero 10 doesn't have any HDR. They already have, all GoPros technically already have some fairly good coloring video. It's fairly good color, and it's all natural, no color filters or anything. So the 10 only supports 8-bit color, no HDR. The 11 introduces 10-bit color, and it goes 10-bit from then on. So the 10 in this situation is the only one that doesn't have 10-bit, only 8-bit. And 10-bit color basically adds, like, I think it's 10 billion colors. And so there's different shades of red. There's a few more shades of red in a certain column of red. There's more blues in blue. But the GoPro Hero 12 introduces what they call just HDR, and it is not super good. I think it's just GoPro's HDR. They just made some like adjustments. So you turn on the setting, you're only limited to 4K 60, not 4K 120 or 5.360, and you have that at wide. So I set all these to 4K 60 wide, all of these cameras for now. So basically the 10 and 11 don't have any HDR, but the 12 has an artificial HDR. They don't register as an official HDR, so if I had to set it to my Apple device, it wouldn't register as that because it's not Dolby Vision, or maybe what they would call HDR HLG. It's kind of more of like an off-brand
not as a third-party HDR like. So it's kind of made up by GoPro, but it still looks different, and I kind of like it better. But you get it at 4K, not 5.3K. Well, you could, but it's at 30 frames per second. But the GoPro Hero 13 has just that, but it now has HDR HLG.
HDR is a little bit complicated, or it can be a little bit interesting for me even. I've had these weird situations with HDR. They're not that weird, and I kind of have to drop resolutions to get HDR and frame rates. You can get highest resolution, but you have to half the frame rate to get to HDR. So maybe just stay away from HDR for now. And 10-bit color, always leave that on if you can, because it just makes videos look just a little bit better. So maybe not use HDR quite yet. Maybe if you're a little more advanced, use that. Honestly, I don't really like messing with HDR anymore. I don't really use it that much. It's kind of useless, and I think GoPro has some more improvements with HDR to do in the future to make it more useful to me.
So basically the visuals right now is completely useless. So put on your best headphones, whatever you want, or probably want to keep it the same and listen to the difference.
And that is because we're going to be comparing audio on the GoPro 10, 11, 12, and 13. I'm going to be switching between different audios, and yeah, let's do that.
So with that being said, enough yapping, and we got a light. Okay. Let's do it right here. All right, let's start with the 10. This is 10's audio. How does the 10 sound? I'm gonna get this thing back up here. How does the 10 sound? I'm gonna flip it around over here. How does the 10 sound? We're gonna bring it over to the 11. This is the 11. How does the 11 sound? Let's go over here, 11. Pretty nice audio. How does it sound here? I don't really know. And now we're gonna switch it over to the GoPro Hero 12. How does GoPro Hero 12 sound? I think it might sound the best out of the 11 and 10. But how do I get that light back on? There we go. And now we're gonna switch it over to the GoPro Hero 13. Okay, the 13's audio, how does it sound? There's audio tuning, standard mode, or whatever it's called. I don't really know. How does it sound? How is there a difference? Now it is on the 13 right now. We're gonna switch it over to the GoPro Hero 10 in 3, 2, 1. Okay, how does it sound on the GoPro Hero 10 and on the 13 now? How does it sound? Let's switch it over to the 11, and let's just say, how does that sound? And switch that right over to, yeah, let's switch the 11, yeah. I got to the 13. I don't know if there's any difference. Let me know in the comments. I probably did find a difference. Now we're gonna pay attention to the light difference. I think the 10 and the 13 will do the best at this. I always thought that all those extra things I added on, the extra color stuff, and maybe just over time, I think from the 10, because it was the first one to introduce, or I think it got it definitely got a, I don't know, might have not gotten a sensor upgrade, but I think it's the best compared to the rest, except for maybe the 13. At least I know GoPro this year, it looks like they made the screen, like when you see things through the screen compared to the rest, it looks like everything's a little bit brighter, or it's better at low light.
Well. So for that, the low light test, yeah, the 10 seemed to be better at low light for some reason. I have some theories why that is. Just advances in cameras take up more storage in the sensor, or space in the sensor. You probably have no clue what I mean, but it probably makes the low light worse, because GoPros all of them are terrible at low light. Try getting a good GoPro, or try getting a GoPro that's good at low light. You won't find one. I mean, some are a little bit better, like the 10, than others, but other than that, the 13 had better low light than the 11 and the 12. Yeah, with that being said, let me know in the comments which ones you thought did the best in certain areas, or especially with the audio, which one did that do the best with the audio. And with that, also let me know in the comments what I should do next, or future video improvements. And feel free to ask any questions about these GoPros. But if you enjoy the outdoors, the content we do here at the Outdoors, make sure to subscribe, and we have some very more interesting content coming up in the future. And for those of you who are already subscribed, make sure to hit the bell notification button and click all so you get notified every time we upload a new video. And see you guys on the next one. And the videos you're gonna see on screen in a minute are the ones YouTube probably thinks you're gonna like the most. With that being said, stay outdoorsy.